Hello, everyone. I'm Heidi Dean, and I'm a social media coach for actors and a backstage expert. I've helped thousands of actors, including my clients who are Emmy Award winners, Broadway stars, filmmakers, voice actors, go from total rookie on social media to total rock star. So I'm super excited to help you guys today with your social media. Let me just look. I'm seeing right there. I think you guys can hear me and see me. Let me know in the chat. And today we're going to talk about social media, guys, but we're going to talk about the right way to network on social media for your acting career so that you can create more connections and more opportunities as an actor. Now, while we're waiting for people to sign on, let me just know in the chat where you're joining me from. I'm coming from New York. Let me see. Robbie, hello from Atlanta, South Florida. Perfect, perfect. Roger, William, Lindsay, Sherry, Andrew, all these people. Thank you so much for joining me. Someone just said, missed a little bit of the beginning. All I did was introduce myself. You didn't miss anything, okay? So guys, I'm just going to jump right in. I really truly think it's such an exciting time to be an actor right now because of social media. I mean, you've got to know that relationships are your career, and in the past, our relationships were truly limited to who we could meet in person. But now with social media, we can actually expand our web of contacts exponentially and meet people that we would never have access to offline in the business. So, what I'm going to do today, guys, is I'm going to walk you through a 3-step strategy that you can use to identify and connect with the people that you want to work with in this business, okay, using social media. Now, step number 1, we're going to talk about who to connect with. Step number 2 of this process, we're going to talk about where to connect on social media because let's face it, not all platforms are created equal. And step number 3, we're going to talk about how to connect so that you actually see results. Pretty cool, right? So who's excited to make more connections after this live? Tell me in the chat. Give me a little woohoo, a little heck yeah. I'm going to see in the chat right now. Perfect. I just saw Dave said, will I be able to watch this later? Yes, if the internet gods are with us. This will be on the YouTube channel for Backstage when we are done. Perfect, perfect. I think I just answered a couple questions there. Heck yeah, me, yay, woohoo, exactly. We all want to make more connections. Doesn't matter if you're an actor, a filmmaker, whatever, whoever you are, social media can help you, okay? Wow, lots of love, lots of love. Woohoo, awesome. Perfect, perfect. All right. So we're going to go through those steps today, okay? Sorry, just hold on. Okay, I'm back. For some reason, it said that I was on pause, but I'm back, guys. Okay, so step number 1, we got to figure out who to follow, who to network on social media, okay? Just following and engaging with anybody where it says casting director on their Twitter profile is going to most likely create 0 results for your career. It's just the truth, right? Well, why? Because maybe they're in Chicago and you might be in LA. Or maybe they cast musicals and you don't sing, right? Or maybe you are, maybe they only cast non-union projects, right? And you are a SAG-AFTRA actor, right? So just going out and engaging with anybody that says casting director and going and liking and commenting and schmoozing and networking you're doing with this person is really just busy work, but it's not going to actually create connections and opportunities for your career, okay? So step number 1 is really getting specific about who to build relationships with, okay? So what I want you to do is first think about the kind of person that you'd like to connect with. So what do they do? What's their profession? Okay, for example, if you're an actor, then obviously you might want to connect and network with casting directors or producers and directors, right? If you do musical theater, it might be those same people, but maybe you also want to connect with lyricists and composers, right? Or choreographers. You've got actually a bigger list as a musical theater actor. So let me know down below in the chat who you might want to connect with. Just their profession right now, not actual specific people. We're going to get to that in a second. So let me know in the chat. Step 1, what's the profession that you want to connect with? Who do you want it more in your network, right? And if you're watching the replay, just type in the comments below your answer, okay? And if you do more than one thing in the business, guys, maybe you're an actor and you're a screenwriter, Well, maybe you might also want to target showrunners or literary agents in addition to all your actor professions. Okay, great. Casting directors, agents, musical theater, casting directors, managers, agents. Great. Perfect. Keep them coming, guys. So we got mainly actors here. That's great. Perfect, perfect. Perfect. Commercial agents. That's getting even more specific. Awesome. Keep them coming. So now that we know the general jobs of who you want to meet, guys, let's get more specific, okay? So I want to keep the exercise simple for today. I want you to find 5 people that you want to build relationships with. Okay. So, with the actor example, maybe that means 2 casting directors, 1 producer, and 1 director, right? It's truly up to you. But just for today's exercise, I want 5 people. You don't have to put them in the chat because I actually want you to do research when we're done here today. So, when we're done here today, you're going to find 5 people. And to find these people, think about the shows you want to be in. Think about the shows you want to be on. Who casts them? Who directs them? And there's so many different places we can get this research. Backstage, if you just go search Backstage, you are going to find a whole lot of information, right? If you have IMDb Pro, wealth of information there for researching people you want to know. Casting About, it's a paid resource, but lots of information on the projects you want. The Internet Broadway database. If you do musical theater, look up the projects you want to be a part of. There's a site called futoncritic.com. Amazing resource, futoncritic.com. It's just an amazing, amazing resource for film and TV projects that are happening, that are in development. Okay. So I want you to do this research and research 5 very, very specific people that you want to know. Okay. And very important, I want to make sure you guys don't just write down the biggest everyone. You know, a lot of you guys, when you do this work, you say, oh, I want to meet Spielberg or Bernie Telsey. Well, don't just go after the biggest everyone, okay? They are not always the easiest way for you to book something, especially when you're starting out. So think about the associates, right? The casting associates, the choreographers, maybe the assistant choreographers or the assistant musical directors of the show. Okay. Not only are these people the future choreographers, the future musical theater directors, the future casting directors, but they're a whole lot easier to access. Does that make sense? Give me a like if that makes sense. Now, last year, I remember I took my daughter, I have a 5-year-old named Tallulah. I took her apple picking. And I remember when we were apple picking, she was always reaching for those really big, beautiful apples that were glistening in the sunlight at the very top of the tree that she was never going to reach, right? And I'm 5'0", so there was no way I was going to help her, right? Instead of reaching for those big apples, she should have looked right in front of her face. There were all these big, other beautiful apples, the low hanging fruit. So I really want you guys to remember that. Don't just go for the biggest people when you do this research. Find 5 people. And if this means you have to find 10 people, because you want to write down big people, but you want to write down more accessible people, remember the low hanging fruit. Okay? Don't just reach for those big people. Okay. And this is especially important on social media when you're networking because these big mucky mucks, they may, number 1, not even be running their social media. Number 2, they may have much, much more people following them. So it's going to be harder to get on their radar. And number 3, if they have a verified account, they can actually filter through their messages and their notifications different than the average person. So they may not even see your message. Okay. And this low hanging fruit may be easier to build a relationship with. Got it? Okay. Let me know if that makes sense, guys. Remember the low hanging fruit. Okay. So step number 1, when we're done, you're going to get specific about who to build a relationship with. Okay. So you're going to make a list of those people you want to meet and start with 5 people for today's exercise. And you can always do more. Okay. I just want to make sure you guys are actually doing the work. And if I tell you 10 people, it may not happen. Okay, great. We got someone says, I'd rather start at the bottom and work my way up. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and these people are the future casting directors. And if you're doing Broadway, I mean, the assistant choreographer and the assistant musical director, they could be the musical director on a show, in a month. That's very possible. So don't forget these people and write them down because they're going to be very important for the exercise we do today. Okay. Thank you, Neva. You said you give amazing advice. Well, if you guys, this is my 4th time back with Backstage in about 5 weeks on their channel. And if you joined me before, you need to bring a piece of paper, you need to bring a pen, or you need to just watch the replay because I don't like to waste your time. So I want to make sure I'm here giving you guys tangible stuff that you can actually do the work and get results. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Cool. You're welcome for the tip, guys. All right. Cool. My chat just froze a little bit. Let's see. Okay, it's back. Next step, guys, number 2, let's talk about where you should be reaching out, okay? And what I mean by that is what platforms are best for reaching out to someone in the business who you don't know, okay? And that's what we're talking about today. And to answer this question, first, you have to see the social media universe like I do, okay? So there's basically 2 types of social media networks, okay? We've got these interest-based platforms. This is where we are going to follow people, places, and things that we like, right? These platforms are platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest. I don't know if you can see them here. I put them here for you guys. These are interest-based platforms. They're based on people's interest, okay? Now, the second type of platform that's out there are platforms based on who you know, which is the graph search, right? These are networks where you friend or connect with people you know already, or maybe they're friends of friends, or friends of people you know. These are obviously our Facebook profiles and LinkedIn, right? They're really based on connections and friends of friends you know. In fact, LinkedIn, if you send out too many connection requests to people you don't really know, you can actually get your account suspended. So be careful if you're doing that. Okay. So these are 2 types of social media networks. Very important when you're figuring out where to reach out. Interest-based networks and our graph search networks based on who we know. Okay. Now there's always exceptions, but it's usually much easier, more appropriate, more effective to reach out to someone who you don't know yet on these interest-based platforms than a more gated platform like a Facebook profile here. Okay. Now, if you don't know them and you don't have any multiple mutual connections, okay, that's what I'm talking about here. I want to be very clear with that. I'm not talking about people you know, people that know you at all. We're talking today, brand new people you want to get to know. Those people you wrote down in step 1. Not as cool, much better chance of getting to know them, okay? So it's really important when you're deciding where to reach out to someone on social media, this right here. Give me a like, or let me know in the chat if that makes sense, okay? Perfect. So for step number 2, I want you to look at your list of the people you wrote down. And of course, this is going to be tonight when you do the work. I want you to do the work, get those 5 people and look at them. And I want you to look them up. And I want you to first see where they are on the interest-based network. Start here. Do they have an Instagram? Do they have a Twitter? Then move on to seeing if they have a Facebook page, a group, LinkedIn, and then finally a Facebook profile. Do not connect with them yet. Just write them down, okay? And what I also like to do is when I'm doing this research, when I want to get to know someone, I also try to really pay attention to where they're most active. So if it looks like they're super active on Twitter and then they haven't actually posted on Instagram in like a month, I might put a little star next to Twitter, okay? Because you might not remember all that once you get through your 5 to 10 people, right? So I like to do that as I go along. Where does it seem like they might be most accessible? Because they spend more time there. Okay, great. I see a lot of thumbs up. Makes perfect sense. Perfect. Okay, so we've got the who, right? We know who we're going to network with once you do your homework tonight. We now just figured out where we're going to find them. Where are we going to build this relationship, right? And we're starting with these interest-based networks first. We've also taken note of where they are most accessible, right? Step number 3 is to move on to how to connect with this total stranger who has no idea who we are, right? Yet, okay? So the quickest way to get on someone's radar, guys, is through their ego. And I don't mean ego as a bad thing. Just think about it. We like to surround ourselves with people who make us feel good, right? Make us feel good about ourselves, right? So if you praise, if you thank, if you quote, if you retweet, or if you just follow someone, you are appealing to their ego in some way. And that is the best way to get on someone's radar on social media. But if you do what most actors do, and your first move for building a relationship on social media is just like randomly sending tweets and Facebook personal messages to people that you've never engaged with and never met before, asking them to watch your reel or look at your website or to give you an audition, you're not going to find a whole lot of success, guys. and it will most likely be a waste of time. Okay. That is like walking up to a total stranger in the street and saying, hi, nice to meet you. Can you do me a favor? That is what you're doing when you are leading with an ask. And it would never fly in real life, right? And give me a thumbs up because, right? If we walked up to someone on the street that we had never met and asked them for a favor, they'd run the other way and you'd run the other way, right? So instead of doing that, I want you to appeal to their ego. Make it about them. Join their conversations and build the relationship without asking them to do anything up front. Okay? Now, the good news is these interest-based platforms here, Twitter and Instagram and even Pinterest, make this easy, right? These platforms make that hard. These make it easy. So make it easy on yourself, okay? Use these networks to find out what this person is interested in based on their bio, their likes, their post, who they follow. I call it collecting digital intelligence, right? Everyone leaves a footprint online. So let's look at what they're leaving and then find a way to authentically join their conversations, right? So when they ask questions, respond if you know the answer. It's that simple, guys. And don't forget to say congrats or, congrats when they're nominated or if they win something. Or even more so, if they celebrate something really personal something special in their personal life and they talk about it on social media. Add value to their conversation. Okay? Not only are you going to start building a relationship, but you're going to start connecting with influencers in the business as a peer, not just a fan. And that is when things are going to start to change for your relationships and when it's going to start to change things for your career. Okay? So we're going to add value to their conversations. I have a client, Jennifer, and I'm going to call her Jennifer because I'm not allowed to give her name, but she this is an amazing story. So she had been networking with this commercial casting director, right? Networking. I don't even like to call it that because what had she been doing? She gathered digital intelligence. She followed them. She joined their conversation. Through being in their conversations, realized they were a mom. They have a son that's, I think, 5. Her son, I think, is 7. I'm not exactly sure my client's son's age, but around the same age. So she started joining this casting director's conversation about her son. The casting director apparently would post about, quirky, funny things he did. Sometimes they would ask for advice about a certain product. And she was just jumping in, chiming in, right? One day she ended up actually getting an audition for the casting director. Who knows? At that point, we thought it was totally unrelated to social media. She got in the door, but it came up in conversation when she was in her audition. They put it 2 and 2 together. And that sparked a conversation. And now she has been in for that casting director over and over and over again. Also because she stays top of mind with her now on social media, right? So that's what this is. We're only talking about meeting someone new. But once you get on somebody's radar and they know who you are, then we can also use social media just to stay top of mind and make sure that we are, always in the back of their mind. And if this is someone who casts things, it is very, very, very important. Okay. So the question I always get, and who knows, I might get it in the chat in 2 seconds, is, okay, Heidi, so we know who, we know where, and you've kind of told us how. We could talk more specifics in a little bit, but when? They want to know, when can I make an ask, right? I'm doing all this, appealing to their ego and I'm, in their conversations. When can I actually make an ask? And to be completely honest, it really depends on the person. It is different for every person. It depends what market you're in. A smaller market, it may be easier, right? It depends how influential they are. The bigger their audience, the longer it may take to get on their radar, right? It also depends how active they are on social media. So if they only sign in every few weeks, it may take longer to develop this relationship. And the biggest thing it depends on, guys, is what I call the temperature of the relationship. And this is going to be different for all 5 people on your list as you start building your relationships. I'm going to draw this out for you guys. I've done this before because it's going to be impossible to explain without actually showing you. I usually have a snazzy visual, but I can't show you my screen. So let me show you how this works. So I look at all relationships for my clients, for myself. I call it the circle of friends. these are my daughter's markers. Those are like the smelly markers. Has anyone used those? They like actually smell like oranges and strawberries. They're kind of amazing. So these are a circle of friends. I'm drawing it out for you guys. Okay. Circle of friends. We've got, and sorry, I'm doing this fast, so it's going to be pretty messy. People you know are at this center of the circle of friends, okay? And I say friends in quotes. All right, and then we got the people you want to know. Don't worry, you're going to see it in 1 second. Woo, that smells like blueberry. Okay. Somebody says, yes, so old school and cute. Yeah, I had them as a kid, and I ordered them for her on Amazon, but they're awesome, right? The black one, the licorice one is crazy. So this is what I call the circle of friends, guys, okay? I don't know if it's backwards for you. In the center are the people you know. Next, the people you used to know, and the big blue circle, the people you want to know. Right now, we are talking about those people you want to know. Now, I've picked these colors on purpose because those people we want to know, that relationship is ice cold, right? They don't know us. We're not going to walk up to them and just start asking them for stuff. The people we used to know. Now, I say used to know because these could be people that you just lost touch with. After you start working as an actor, you'll remember the people that you worked with 3 months ago, 6 months ago, but forget about a year ago, especially if we're talking low-hanging fruit, which you should be keeping contact with, right? So these are people you lost touch with, right? Or maybe it was a casting director who's called you in a couple times, but you didn't have a system for staying in touch, which we can talk about how to do that too in the Q&A. So those are the people we used to know. It's a warmer relationship, but it's not really warm enough to ask for a favor, right? Then we got the people you know. These are your super fans. These are friends, family, casting directors that call you in all the time, your agent, fellow actors that know your work, people that know, like, and trust you. So when we talk about when is it appropriate to ask for a favor for your career, not when we're in this blue zone where we started the beginning of this talk today, right? We need to warm that relationship up. And by everything we're talking about today, with adding value to their conversation, getting on their radar, as you do that, you will be warming up your relationship, right? Right? A lot of people are talking about the markers, right? Totally brought you back, right? They are awesome. Mr. Sketch sent it. So this is very important, guys. Sorry, digress about the markers, but you really need to know the temperature of the relationship. So if you are going to do that, ask yourself, number one, would I feel comfortable asking them to their face this question? But also, how warm am I? Do they know, like, and trust me yet? Okay? You may have to wait just a little bit longer. And trust me, if you do, you may actually get a result. Okay? Okay? It's so important. So remember the circle of friends. Really, the warmer the relationship, the easier it is for them to say yes. Okay. And like I said, we can warm that relationship by interacting with them on social media. We can also warm that relationship by finding a friend or a referral to introduce us, which we can also do on social media. I could talk about networking for like 5 hours. So something I didn't talk about how to find referrals on social media, but we can talk about that in the Q&A as well. Now, 2 very important things before we get to Q&A. I do not want you guys to start step 3 without doing something very important. Now, remember, step 1 was figuring out who to network with. Step 2 is figuring out where to network with them, right? Remember these interest-based versus graph search. Step number 3 is actually going out. But I don't want you to actually do step 3 if you have not cleaned up your social media. Okay? It's so important. Think about it. What's your first impression? Is your branding clear? Are you sending us where you want us to go when we land there? So are we going to the right place? Are we going to your website? Do you look like someone I want to work with? How are your posts? Right? So let me give you, actually have 3 resources for you guys to rock out your social media. All free, and one's another live stream, so that you can actually start seeing results. Okay. The first one is my YouTube channel because we're like on YouTube, right? So go to youtube.com/Heidi Dean, and there's a million videos, including one that's called How to Clean Up Your Social Media for Actors. Okay. It's going to help you do that so you can start networking. Okay. I have a free social media ebook that's all about cleaning up your social media. I think it's in the description below. If not, you can go to checklistforactors.com. or ebookforactors.com. They'll both take you there. And the first live I did for Backstage about 5 weeks ago was about how to clean up your social media. Perfect. And I think, yeah, perfect. Katie just put it in the chat. I did a whole hour about cleaning up your social media. So you guys have no excuse. Do step number 1, step number 2, sneak in cleaning up your social media, and then go out and start building relationships. Okay? Because what's going to happen is as you start putting yourself out there and putting yourself in these people's circles and their conversations, it is human nature and they will click over. But you want them to see a really awesome first impression. Okay? You really need it to rock. What's funny is I've been doing a ton of Zoom calls and lives for Backstage, SAG-AFTRA, agents and managers, because everyone needs to use social media right now. And I did one for a manager last week. And what was amazing is I'm sure you guys know if you've been on Zoom, if someone pops up late for the call and their mic's on, they're going to pop up on the screen, right? So I'm answering questions and all of a sudden this guy pops up on the screen, this actor. And I even say out loud, wow, I think that guy's name is Aaron. And even everyone's like, do you know him? I said, no, but actually, he did everything I'm telling you guys to do today. He had followed me on Twitter, followed me on Instagram, and he had just been interacting with me, joining my conversations probably for the past year. He's never taken a class. He's not a client of mine. And I know his name. And I've actually clicked over to watch his work. It is human nature. So you've got to do this work, guys. You will make so many connections, okay? But you need to know that building relationships takes time, okay? If you commit to this, if you do it every day, you will see results. But building relationships offline and online does not happen overnight, right? And you also have to know that you may not actually ultimately connect with everyone that you put on your list, right? But if you have consistent effort, you're likely to get many of them, right? And as you do this work, you can subtract people from your list, add people from your list of people, okay? Because you're going to be pursuing different types of projects. Your career may take a slight pivot. Maybe you're doing more voiceover work. So make sure you constantly are doing the work of specifically finding out who you should network with, okay? Going back to number 1. All right, let me know if that makes sense. Perfect. Elise, I think it's Rachel, says, I watched it was great and easier than I thought. Yes, just go and clean up your social media, guys. It's not that hard, but your first impression is everything. We get very stuck in the why social media is important conversation. I think everyone seems to go to followers first. And yes, that does get people cast. However, a bigger reason why social media is important is it's part of your first impression and people are looking you up. I speak all the time all over the country for SAG-AFTRA and at film festivals. And I can't tell you how many times I'm either on a panel or there's a panel right before me where agents, casting directors are saying, yeah, if you submit to me, I'm going to look you up. I'm going to look you up on social media. I'm going to see what your first impressions out there. If you're doing family-friendly projects, if you're any family-friendly networks, at some point in the process, they will look you up on social media to see if you're a liability for the brand. It's just fact. I watched a live a couple days ago with Angela Mickey, casting director, and that's what she was saying too. She's like, yes, everyone's getting stuck on followers, but really, we are looking you up. And if we find controversial stuff, if we wouldn't want to work with you, we're going to move on. So do that work, guys. So important. All right. Okay. So I'm going to hop into the chat. Hopefully I can see it. It froze a couple times on the live, but it looks like it's here. So I'm going to go up a little bit. If you guys asked a question during the live, put it back in because I'm not going to be able to scroll all the way through to find all of them. Okay. Oliver Payne, how to find these people though? I told you, I don't know if you came late. Step number 2, if you did come late, watch the replay. Step number 1, who to target, right? Some are paid resources, some are not. Backstage, just go and search some of these people. They have interviewed so many people. You may find some stuff there. A good old Google search will also come up with a lot of information for who cast the shows you want to be a part of. Okay. IMDb Pro, a wealth of information for that. If you do, want to do musical theater, the Internet Broadway database might help you. Okay. Playbill Pro is actually paid, but you can research people. But like I said, you might find stuff on Backstage as well. Okay. All right. Where do we find casting directors? Well, if you're talking about research, that Backstage's call sheet and all online. Okay, guys. Um, all right. And Katie, yes, casting directors can be found on Twitter easily. They can, guys. Like they are there and they're on Instagram. I'd say more right now, at least because I actually have lists and collections of them. I've seen more on Twitter, but they're there. And you need to get specific. Like I said, just following and engaging with someone because it says casting director is a waste of your time. Um, TJ Stooks, I feel kind of weird asking on social media. Well, that's the thing. You don't actually have to do the ask on social media. A lot of times you're just building this relationship and then you're also finding offline ways to build it as well. We're not talking about that a lot right now because of what's happening in the world, but you should be setting your Google alerts for these people, guys. If you don't know what Google alerts are, just Google it. I have a video about it on my YouTube channel, but I can't think of the title. Set Google alerts for these people. You will get an email every time they are speaking somewhere, they're in the news, right? Because actually the most effective social media networking strategy involves both online networking and offline. So finding ways to get on someone's radar online, but then also trying to find opportunities to meet them in person. Okay. Um, Huntress, does this work in the regional markets as well as the big markets? Yes, it works. It works absolutely everywhere. In fact, I think at some point I probably mentioned, I think when you're in a smaller market, it's actually easier to get on some of these people's radar as long as they're on social media. Normally they have less followers. Normally they're more accessible. So actually, you probably have a major. It's just much easier for you, right? They're actually kind of the low hanging fruit, right? Um, okay. Mirabella, I live in Austin, Texas, and I'm not sure how to find people here. Well, what kind of projects do you want to do? That's where you start. What kind of projects? What are your dream projects? What are they casting in your area? Because the problem is you can't be targeting people in California if you're not a local there. You're just not, you can't target an agent there if you don't have reliable transportation and a place to live and you're not a local there. So you need to be realistic when you do this research. Right now, if you're in Austin, there are a lot of filmmakers in Austin. If you're in SAG, you can look up people in SAG, look up the local film commission and see what's being shot there. Okay, Mirabella, there's a lot, probably more opportunities than you think in Austin, Texas. Okay, it's just a cool town. All right. Okay, tastes so good. I don't know your real name, but a lot of writers and directors are private on Instagram and their name cannot be found on Twitter. What is your advice when everyone on a project is private? My advice is keep on digging because I guarantee you not everyone on a project is private. And there's a lot. That's actually, I'm glad you brought that up because how I talked interest base and graph search. So this is a better place to reach out to people. If someone has decided that their Twitter or their Instagram is private, then guess what? They're using it like a graph search. They're using it for friends and family, and they just want to network with people they know. So if you find that, don't start following someone with a private account. They're clearly giving us a message that, hey, I use this for personal reasons. Go find me somewhere else. I have very rarely ever found that you can't find one person on a project. And if you're looking at a specific project, well, think about what other projects are like that. Because even though you're doing the research for a certain project, you're doing it because you'd be right for that show. But that show's going to end at some point. So what other shows are like that? And move on, right? It's actually good not to just get tied to one project anyways. But there's always a way, I can tell you that right now, to find someone on social media. Okay? So many people are talking about the scratch and sniff markers. They're the best, right? Okay, let's see. Being hungry and patient is hard. Well, guess what? Being patient is, if you are going to be an actor, this career is a marathon. It's not a sprint, and you have to be patient. I mean, it's just the people. I can tell you why I know so much about social networking. Number one, when I got my start in social media years ago, I was actually running social media for big actors, okay? And some of those people were also producers and casting directors. So I was on the receiving end of all these messages we're talking about, the personal messages, the direct messages, because I was running the accounts for them, right? And I can tell you right now, the people that were being impatient were just being ignored. And it's not because, I was being rude and ironically, I wasn't even the person they wanted to reach anyways. But, if they were trying to reach me, I wasn't being rude. I was just busy. I had a lot of messages to sift through. But I do notice when I see the same face and name interacting in a very nice, impatient way, right? Okay. All right. Heidi has a book. No, I don't have an ebook. I have an ebook, not a book. You go to ebookforactors.com. Okay. I wish I could write a book. I want to. I just don't have time. I really don't have time. Someone said, Tony Wood, I tried to reach out to a known actor on Instagram last year, and he actually responded via direct message. Oh, I don't, Tony, I'm reading the rest of it. That sounds like a very specific situation that the account was hacked. I have no idea. So that's, and keep in mind, you're reaching out to a known actor, like that may not be, remember the low hanging fruit, guys. Reaching out to whoever you're reaching out to, that might not be the person that's going to make a difference for your career. And keep in mind, I said make a list of 5, and I actually think you should do more than that, really, after today. But it only takes one person to change your career. It doesn't take 20. It doesn't take 50. It takes one person to change your career, and one person that you've truly developed a relationship with, and they've come to know, like, and trust your work. Okay. And you can track actors over and over again with their careers that it literally has depended on just a couple people. Okay. Actually, what I don't talk about a lot, I was an actress for over 20 years. I grew up in California. I was an actress till I was about 30. I'm 40 now. And I worked, I was SAG, I was Equity. I had agents and managers on both coasts. I worked in pretty much every medium. And, oh, sorry, that just disappeared. I lost my chat, Katie. Sorry, guys. But back when I was an actor, I wished I had the ability to see that this was a long game. I wish I had social media to interact with people, guys. It's such an asset for you guys. I can't not tell you. I can't tell you that enough. Okay. Great, TJ. You said it's tough, but patience, you're learning. Perfect. You just got to know it's a long-term end game. I wish I knew how important relationships were when I was an actor, because, and this is where I was going with that before I saw chat. Katie, my chat's back, so I'm okay. But back when I was acting, I did more voiceovers and commercials when I was in California, and then when I came to New York and went to NYU, then I did a lot of musical theater. And the person that cast me in almost every major show I did, from like the Evita National Tour with Hal Prince to Liesel and Sound of Music on a huge tour, was the same casting director that I think I had met when I was 19 years old. And they loved my work. And I just consistently always found a way to get in front of them. Whether it was an EPA, even though I had an agent, I was always trying to stay connected with them, and they consistently helped my career move. So you don't need a bunch of people to be successful, guys, and to work, okay? So Jessica says, hi there from Germany. Heidi's German name. Yes. You're welcome. Okay, I just saw something about Instagram. It's moving very fast. Marlene Vincent, you can't find the ebook. It should be in the description below. It just says free social media guide for actors, okay? And if you go anywhere on my social media, you're going to find it. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Christine's Backstage. Please talk about keeping records of whom you meet. Well, records of whom you meet. Honestly, this is something I do with my clients and my students in my online classes. The best way, and it's going to be very hard without showing you, the best way to really keep track of people you meet on social media is to do it on social media. Yes, you can make spreadsheets. So you can actually keep track of the people you meet in person and the people you meet online. But once you start adding the social element to it, that gets really hard to track, right? And there's all sorts of industry trackers. Just Google it. I don't want to, they're all paid, so I don't want to put out an endorsement today. But in terms of keeping track of the people you want to meet online, it's all built into the platform. Twitter list. If you don't know what a Twitter list, I got a 35-minute Twitter tutorial on my YouTube channel. Totally free, shows you how every button works, shows you how to set up a Twitter list, where you can literally make Twitter lists for the people you know, the people you want to know. And then just use those lists to stay top of mind. And the great thing about Twitter lists, Christine, is that these Twitter lists actually help you block out all the other noise on Twitter that you don't want to see, like if you don't want to see the political noise, any craziness, right? Twitter list, I can go right into my Twitter list. I don't even have to see the feed. So I can just go right in, interact with the people I know, interact with the people I want to know, and get out, right? We can make friend lists on Facebook. We can make saved collections of people on Instagram, okay? And then make it a habit to go in there and stay top of mind. Okay. Erica Triggs, if you're getting small production companies, indie directors, other agents, actors and agents following you, I'm guessing it's a fairly good sign. You're in Hamilton, Toronto, Canada. Yeah, it's a very good sign. Yeah, exactly. And keep in mind, guys, I saw a video the other day on YouTube that was for actors. That was like really about how to get like casting directors to follow you. You have to know, guys, that is not the end result. You need to really focus everything in your career, but also your social media on things you can actually control. And whether or not a casting director follows you is completely out of your control. In fact, more often than not, they may not follow you. It doesn't mean they're not going to interact with you, but they may not follow you. Okay. Or it may take a while. Okay, so focus on the things you can control versus the things you can't. And Erica, that's great if they're following you, but I just want to put that out there after I read that. That is not the end result. That's not what we're going after. We're trying to build a relationship, both online and then bridge it offline. Not necessarily, the end goal is really not to get followed. You can't control that. Okay, it's a nice cherry on top. It's a nice perk if it happens. Okay, all right. Okay, Gremlin, should we have separate? You know what? I'm not going to answer that question, Gremlin, about separate accounts because I answered it in the last live, and I'm going to be doing 2 more lives, commercial here for my 2 more lives. I'm not sure the exact dates, but next week sometime I'll be doing something about YouTube for actors, and the week after I'll be doing about what social network should you be on, and we'll talk personal, private, public accounts at that point. Okay. Stavros Anastasio, hopefully I didn't butcher your name. How do we make sure we're not coming off too strong to the person we're trying to reach out to? Well, if you're making it about them, if you're joining their conversation, you're just having a human conversation. You're going to come off too strong if you're all of a sudden, if their tweet is about, the movie they just saw, and then you're like, hey, I'm in a movie, that's coming off too strong because you're actually not joining their conversation, right? If you're joining on just a human level, you're not going to be too strong, right? So, and I will say that there is a place, sometimes direct outreach does work if you do it in a very creative way. I have seen actors make really cool videos that show their talents, especially I have a client that does a lot of martial arts work. So he's made videos and actually tag casting directors, which I do not really say is good 99% of the time, but he has got on their radar because he's really showing his unique skills and talents that these casting directors actually need for their projects. Okay, so getting on a radar like that, which might come off too strong if it's targeted to who you want to target and it's done creatively, and maybe you have a big audience or verified checkmark like this client, it might work. So I do want to put it out there. So I'm giving, it's hard when you're on a live and you're trying to give advice to hundreds of people right now when everybody has a different circumstance, different people they want to meet. You're at a different part in your career. Some of you guys have 50 followers. Some of you guys have 50,000, right? So how you approach people is going to be a little different. Honestly, I know when someone's talking to me and they have a verified check mark, I am more likely to look at it. So that's, you might be able to be a little more forward then, but really add value to their conversation. Okay. All right. And this is a whole different way of thinking. Like I said, when you start approaching people, when you're when you're entering their conversations and really trying to build relationships as a peer instead of as a fan, which is how most of you guys are approaching casting directors, producers, you're like a fan. Hey, notice me. Don't lose your power. Approach them like a peer, not a fan. Okay. All right. All right. Hey, Heidi, I live in Orlando. I find it hard to get involved with projects down here, or that there isn't a lot here. There is work in Orlando. You just got to get specific about what kind of work you want to do. And honestly, I don't know how old you are. You could be 15 and this is impossible. But honestly, guys, if this is something you really want to do and and the kind of work you want to do is somewhere else, you might want to set up a plan. It might be a 5-year plan to make it happen, but to try to get into the market where that work is. Because it is, yes, we could do some things like voiceover, audiobooks. Yes, we can self tape from a distance, but at the end of the day, if there's a certain type of project you want to do, like if you want to be on Broadway, you're going to have to move to New York someday. It's just going to have to happen. So think about that. Like I said, I don't know, you may be 10 years old and that's not possible, but there are projects in Orlando, research them. But if you're not finding work, try to find work elsewhere. Can you get closer to Atlanta? There's a great market there. Okay. Um, uh, all right. Okay. Someone just says, what are your YouTube and Backstage video titles? Katie, I'm going to let you drop the lives that I did for Backstage in the titles. YouTube, I have more videos than I could possibly give you the titles. You could literally spend, I don't know, there's like 60 videos all about social media for actors and online marketing. So Yvonne, just go to youtube.com/Heidi Dean, or just go onto YouTube and just look up Heidi Dean social media for actors, and you will just see like tons and tons of videos. Okay. And full tutorials, guys. I've got Instagram stories tutorials, Twitter tutorials that show you how everything works. Okay. Twitter list is a great idea. Twitter lists are amazing, and most people have no idea they exist. I joke that I have hundreds of coffee dates every single week with the people I know and the people I want to know. And I can tell you right now, it's changed my life. It's changed my career teaching social media. I've seen it change actors' careers. And what I mean by thousands of coffee dates is by going into my Twitter list and going into my collections on Instagram that I've set up with these people I know and people I want to know and these circles I want to be in. All I do is go and interact with them just like every other day. I interact with these people by liking, having a little comment, direct message, maybe giving them a shout out. And it's like I'm having virtual coffee dates with them. I could never have hundreds of coffee dates with people in real life, even though I'd love to, because if you know me and follow me, you know I love coffee. But I couldn't have hundreds of coffee dates. But using social media and being set up with a system like Twitter list, I am able to have these coffee dates and make opportunities happen. Okay. Because that's a big thing, guys. I've told you today who to target. I told you where to find them and basically how we're going to, start building this relationship, right? But you also need to know how to get organized, because once you start building your network, you're going to forget who some of these people are. They might have different usernames, like on different platforms. So you need a system to stay top of mind. Okay. Let's see. Keisha, are newer types of social media more useful than older ones? What social media networks are useful to you are going to be different than what social media networks are useful to Lewis here, or Chris, or Natalie, or Sherry Heller here, right? Or New England Gardener. I love it. So your social media platforms need to match up with your goals. So it doesn't matter if they're newer or they're older. Right? Who do you want to meet? And this is actually going to be my live at the end of the month. What social network should you be on for your career? And I'm going to give you very specific questions you need to ask yourself, which is so important, because then when TikTok comes around, or, the new Snapchat, we can ask ourselves these questions and we'll know if that platform is right for us. Okay. So, I don't know if it's Keisha, so it doesn't necessarily mean that a newer one is better than the older ones. In fact, for networking, which is what we're talking about today, I guarantee you're going to have better access to people in this business on Twitter and Instagram than on TikTok right now, right? When we're talking about the people you want to know, that list of people. Okay. So in terms of networking, it takes a while for people to get on networks. Even now, we're finally seeing more people on Instagram that are behind the scenes that you want to know. Like I said, I see more of them on Twitter just because it's been around. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's see. Just checking the time too. All right. Okay. Any questions about networking, guys? Hope, I think I just answered your questions too. What social media platforms work best for launching your career? They have to reach your goals. Okay. Marla Grant, Instagram story use, is it useful? It's very useful. Look at, I'm sure Katie will drop the link. I did a specific live just on Instagram tips for actors, and really we talked about some of the best ways to grow our following on Instagram and to get on people's radar. And guess what? Stories is one of those things. You just look at Instagram is always trying to show us the coolest new feature. And not that stories are super new anymore, but you can see they're really pushing IGTV videos right now because they want people to use them. They are pushing live, right? When somebody goes live, it's kind of annoying, right? On Instagram, it just pops right up in your feed. I end up in so many lives I don't want to be a part of because of that, right? Give me a like if that happens to you too. And sadly, if somebody knows who I am, like, well, now I'm like, no offense, I'm stuck there because they're like, oh, Heidi Dean is here. I was like, oh man, I really didn't mean to be here. And not even in a mean way. I had something else to do. So, but obviously they're making lives happen, right? Popping right in front of us, right? And Instagram stories front and center at the top. As we scroll down, we see more Instagram stories, right? They're showing us what we want to see. It's a great way to actually show up, you know, in the feed, you know, of the people following us on Instagram. And I have a video, Instagram story tips. It's 12 hacks and tips on my YouTube channel. It's pretty awesome, if I do say so myself. All right. Do you need an agent, or can you look for auditions by yourself? Well, it's not actually about social media, but you can find agents you can find auditions by yourself, and it's called Backstage. So go look them up. um, and let's see. Do you have a YouTube video about setting career goals? I have a YouTube. My YouTube is very focused on social media and online marketing, but I do have a very recent video about setting goals for your social media, but it applies to your whole career. And one reason is I just lost 25 pounds. So I talk about like how the fact I lost 25 pounds for the fall and the goal setting I set up and the things that I had to structure to actually make that happen, because it took me 5 years to do it, can help your career. So Elise, go find that. You'll be a video of me doing this. It says reach your goals on my YouTube channel. And that will help you with your goal setting, no matter whether it's your social media or your career. All right. There are so many questions, guys. I'm trying. All right. Okay. And it's moving so fast. Yeah, Danielle here. I reached out to an acting teacher. I complimented his webinar, and it was amazing when I asked a clarifying question about his webinar. He answered, but was that a good way to get on his radar? Yeah. I mean, and it's an acting coach, so I don't know if he also casts things or does other things, but hey, maybe it's a class you want to be a part of, and you have to get accepted to do it. That's a great way to get on his radar, right? That you are adding value to the conversation. Remember what I said? It could be as simple as like asking a question. There's all right now, guys, there are so many industry people going live that never were doing that before, right? So, so many casting directors, agents are going live. Well, guess what? Go find them and say thank you. And you don't necessarily have to do it privately. I know a lot of you guys, you lead with the private message, the direct message, but no, if they don't follow you, they may not see it. So publicly thank them for their advice. And don't just say thank you, say thank you. I really responded to the thing you said about this, and this, right? You're going to show up bigger in their notifications, number one, if you really want to get on their radar. And you're going to make a more of a specific connection with them. And they might actually follow up from that. If you just say, thanks so much for the live today, they probably got another 50 messages like that. Okay. But if you make it very specific, you might actually be able to start a conversation. And if your first impression looks good, they might just click over. Right. Okay. Danielle, yeah, I did it right. Yeah, I keep on doing it. Do the research from today. Figure out who you want to meet, where you want to find them, and then join their conversations. Add value. Okay. Can you talk about being specific with hashtags? Well, Katie, if you want to drop my live from the Instagram tips for actors, I talked about hashtags for 10 minutes in that live. Really just very specific about the right way to find hashtags on Instagram. So definitely look that one up. I also have what is it called? freeclassforactors.com is a free Instagram class that talks about it too. So I have more free content for actors than possibly anyone out there. Awesome. Okay. Oh, there's so much love. Thank you, guys. Let me just find couple more questions to answer, and then I'm going to sign off. But don't worry, I will be back. I will be back, like I said, end of next week. I think it might be Friday, talking about YouTube tips for actors. Whether you have never set up a channel and you want to set up a channel, whether you just want to clean up your channel for your career, either one, or maybe you have a web series and you're just not getting views. We're going to talk about all that. It's pretty cool. Are the other social media platforms on your wall clock to be added after you're established in the business? Oh, yeah. Well, you don't necessarily have to. Well, that's Messenger. Pinterest, like, you don't necessarily have to have Pinterest, obviously, as an actor. I just liked it when I made the clock. Okay. Thanks. Really did not know how useful Twitter can be. Well, truthfully, guys, you got to know that you could actually be asked to live tweet. If you are interested in being in anything with Shonda Rhimes, who else live tweets all the time? Tyler Perry, like all these people, if you are on their shows, they are live tweeting. If you are not on Twitter, I mean, you don't have to be on Twitter, but if you're not, that's where the audience is. So you are missing out on collecting fans for your career in a very easy way, right? You know, you're on the show, collect those fans with every project you do. And Twitter might be one of those places. Twitter, it's very easy to build relationships. I think it's the easiest, actually, out of any platform. Because you have direct access to these people without gatekeepers if you're doing it the right way, like we talked about today. All right. Okay. Thank you. Lindsay Costa, I'm a teen, and sometimes this makes it more difficult for people on social media to take you seriously. What would you suggest you do? You know what? That might be, and this might just be me saying it, that might be a limiting belief. You know what I mean? You just be you, you own you, you clean up your social media. As long as it's professional, they're going to take you seriously. If you're just trying to network with an account that maybe you're using for your friends with school, they're not going to take you seriously. But if you're a professional actress and you're a teen and you're just networking in a real way, I know child actors, their parents are running the accounts that do this and they're taken seriously. So if a 6-year-old networking with casting directors can be taken seriously, you can too. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Stu says, thanks again. It's not just the info, but your style of relaying this to us is very comfortable. Oh, thank you. Thanks. I try, guys. I try. And I try to give you guys tangible things you can do, because there's a lot of people out there trying to tell you what to do on social media. But a lot of times it's just like, don't do this, don't do that. And that's not enough for you guys. Okay. I'm going to answer one more, but I want it to be about social media. Some of these are not about social media, and you guys can ask that for all the other fabulous people that are going live. Okay. You can't wait to watch the Instagram tip for actors. Oh yeah. It was like an hour of Instagram gold, guys. All right. Let me see if I have any other questions, and then I'm going to sign off. If not, okay. Okay, better to have a page on Facebook. That is a big topic. Okay. All right. Actually, I'm going to just send you to my YouTube channel. I have a video that says Facebook fan page or profile, and I'll break it down for you. I just saw somebody, how do you approach them like a peer if you're appealing to their ego? Well, appealing to their ego doesn't mean like, hey, I'll do whatever you want. It just means if you like something, or you comment, or you say thank you, or you give them a shout out, that's appealing to their ego. That doesn't mean you're being passive. That means you're just approaching them like a peer. Okay. You're still powerful. It's a powerful place to be if you're networking with these people you want to know. Okay. You're approaching them like a peer. You're just joining their conversations, and eventually they'll click over and they'll join yours. I promise. Okay, guys. Awesome. So I am going to sign off for today. We are right at an hour, and they just started mowing the lawn next door. So we got to stop. I can't even focus. So thank you for joining me so much today. Do the work, guys. Do not just watch this and don't do the work. Make your list of people so you know who to know. Find out where you can find them, leaning in this area, and then start building those relationships and commit to it over time. You will see results. Okay, guys? So find me at marketingforactors.com and marketing for actors kind of everywhere. And until the next live next week, I will see you guys on social. Bye.